Welcome back, guys, to another episode of FPL Backbenchers. I'm your host Somnath. How are you guys doing? Today, I'm again joined by my co-hosts Ronojoy and Anjan. Are you guys
Hi
doing
Somnath,
well?
hi Anjan. We are doing good, very
Hi.
excited about the pod this time. 24 hours early, so let's see how it goes this time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true. 24 hours early. That's very true. Hi, guys.
much earlier, and I think we had planned the pod even much earlier than this. So sorry, could
But
not happen
everything
this.
happens for the best. So
Yeah,
let's
probably
get
it
down
happened
straight down to
today.
business.
You guys look pumped,
And
right? Had an amazing
well,
game.
I had a good game week, yes, but everyone had a good game week, so it's pretty. I think you can call it a pretty average game week for everyone.
Dude,
But
not
yes,
everybody had a great game. I mean, for me, the guy
it's
was real.
I understand, but
Obvious.
it's okay. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
I'm
okay.
sure you're going to catch up in the rest of the 37 game weeks which are there.
Yeah, oddly, it's very unsettling. I'm not really that worried as I should be. Last year, I was really frustrated by this point, and I was like, how to catch up. This time, I don't know how the Zen thing has happened, but oddly, I'm like settled. Anyways, we will definitely get into that. We'll look into our teams and our scores. Before that, I would just like to inform that all the stats that we have been taking in this particular podcast have all been taken from Fantasy Football Hub. If you guys haven't gotten the membership yet, please go for it. It's an amazing website, plus they have a beautiful app, so you can get your all in-depth analysis for your players as well as teams and all. Okay, moving on straight away to the agenda for this particular game week. Sorry, for this particular podcast. I'm still in the game week mode. Anyway, I will just like to summarize as to what we'll be covering in this particular podcast, right? So we'll start away with our game week reviews, individual as in FPL point of view, as how our individual teams went. Post that, we'll be looking at the highlights of the particular game week, where I will be highlighting certain key stats of the game week and what stood out for me, particularly in every match. Post that, we are doing a section called Caught My Fancy, wherein each of us will be discussing either a player or a team that actually caught our fancy and would discuss it in a bit of elaboration so that probably they have a good fixture going forward and we can target those players or those teams as such. After which, we'll be going on to our Game Week 2 fixture predictions along with our differential and clean sheets for the game week, and then we'll be discussing our teams and transfers. Right? Sounds good, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of things to cover, so we should get started, I guess.
Yeah. So let the hell begin, and I think let's put up my team first. So as you guys see, I'm not one of those lucky centurions. There have been a lot going around in the community. I'm not one of them. Sorry, guys. I scored 78 points this particular game week, and notable mentions would be Trent getting me a clean sheet, Ben Rama getting me a goal and assist. That is a punt that paid off. I'm really happy about that. King Salah doing the goods again, game week one once again. 17 pointer, two assists and a goal. And in forward department, Tony had a blank obviously, and Mikel Antonio, another guy I backed during the preseason and for game week one, came good. Although he missed a penalty, would have been a much higher score. But nonetheless, I'll take 13 points. Obviously, the glaring thing and the big whole shape thing is Bruno not being there. I think that has been my
Bruno.
difference game week, setting me apart. I think if you add
Bruno,
like Bruno,
especially. Bruno,
yeah,
especially.
yeah, if you add
Bru,
like
yes,
Bruno
actually.
to this and Simicas' score to this, which was pretty much the template of Twitter, I would have touched 100 points, but unfortunately, I'm not there. I'm not that worried. I think I took a decision. I backed it. It did not work out, and especially I would like to tell for the people who don't actually own Bruno, don't feel bad about it. Getting you took did not take took Bruno for a particular reason, right? Don't panic. Think objectively, and if you have to bring him back, definitely do bring him back. Him scoring a hat trick upfront for the first game week that you did not have, that's basically variance. That's. Plain unlucky. Nothing can be done. Nobody could have predicted that he would have scored a hat trick. So that's about it. Moving on, I think let's move on to the glory guys. Let's move on to Ronjay's team, our first Centurion.
Before I go to my team, I did not realize that you have both Benrama and Antonio. So I think good pick there. In terms
I
of my team, I think I had a team which is similar to Shomnath's. I captained Salah, but I do, you know, I am really sad about not captaining Bruno. If only there was hindsight.
Do
And
you regret that?
Antonio,
Do you
I
regret
do
that?
regret that. I never considered captaining Bruno, to be very honest.
Okay,
I will
then.
not lie here, but
then
yes, I
why do you regret
do,
that?
because in the last part, if you remember, I did tell that Bruno, the match is going to be goal scoring,
Uh-huh.
and that was the feeling throughout the entire preseason. I did feel that Man United and Liverpool, sorry, Leeds is going to be goal scoring, so I should have backed myself there.
Mhm.
Anyways, maybe I'll be correcting my mistake this week. We'll see that later.
That's interesting.
I
Yes.
also had Antonio, who missed a penalty. I took Antonio over Benrahma for exactly the reason that he takes penalties, but he lost me 7 points there. And my bench is like awesome. I have 9 points on the bench from Sar and 6 points on the bench from Eiling. So 16. I lost 15 points there, but overall I'm very satisfied about my game week. The only thing which I'm not, which I'm a little dissatisfied, is that Digne did not give me a clean sheet. But apart from that, I'm mostly happy about my game week.
I think the
What about
intriguing
you?
thing for me is like you bench Sar. That is a decision.
Yeah, I think it was between Digne and Sar. Digne had a home game against Southampton, who are really struggling, and that is the reason I thought let's go with Digne over Sar. I have a similar choice to make this game week: Digne, Sar, Eiling. I have to pick one of them. I'll talk about what my pick. I'm still confused about it, but I'll talk about my pick in the later section. I think now we should move on to the highest scorer from amongst the three of us. Anjan, how do you feel? Tell us about your team.
Well, I had a pretty similar team with. I had a pretty similar team with you guys. The only differential I feel that I had bought Antonio and Benrahma. I had Bruno. I had Salah. The obvious picks were there. One more addition was that I had Wilson in my team instead of Danny Ings. So it was like kind of a similar kind of point. So everybody chipped in with some points. So I scored well in this week. Anyways,
Great,
nothing to talk
great
about
start.
here right now.
Great start.
Fantastic.
I think most of the times we do not want to go for the template, but this time template did win over the
Yeah,
non-template teams.
to
So yeah, good start
Template
for
was king,
everyone.
right?
casual one.
Template rocks.
Template rock. Just
Okay.
for the record, I would like to mention, like, I am seriously happy that you guys had a really good start, right? I mean, it was made better for me considering I did not have a good start. I felt really good that you guys at least have a good start, right? It's good for our credibility. Because anyways, moving on,
Anyways, moving on.
let's move on to the highlights of this particular. Firstly, the major highlight for me, and I think for everybody, is fans are back, dude. I mean, the atmosphere was
True.
absolutely shocking, and I felt like we were watching a completely different Premier League to what we have been experiencing for the past year. First of all, there was no staggered start and anything, and fans had a huge impact. I felt to the fact that out of the 10 matches, 7 matches were won by the home team. The only exception being West Ham, Liverpool, and Brighton. And I think all of those three teams are probably technically superior to their opponents. So there's nothing in that. So France had a huge factor playing in that space, especially if you look at how the Brentford Arsenal match went. It was probably an indication as to how my game week would go as well, seeing Arsenal being defeated. Something I would not say I expected Arsenal as a fan to lose the match, but I mean, let's be honest. Like, I mean, they were absolutely poor in every aspect. Interestingly, Arsenal had the highest number of shots in the game week of any team. They had 22 shots, and this is their highest without scoring a goal. So what that tells me basically is we are probably lacking, I would say, experienced guys like Oba, Lacazette, or people like that, wherein you know we are not exactly finishing our chances. This is the first time that we have lost to a promoted team on the opening day since 1976, and the only highlight of the game week from an Arsenal perspective was probably Smith Rowe. He was like star or murkiness around the team. And Tierney going forward, I understand people are impressed that Tierney was good. I personally felt that Tierney was not really that good defensively. His defensive duties were really lacking in that particular match. Chambers was lost, and there's more hell to come. I mean, we are hearing that Lacazette and Auba will not be present probably for the Chelsea game as well, which is very weird because no reasons have been given. It's just that they are sick. What kind of sickness? Nothing has been mentioned. Is it COVID? Is it something else? Is it malaria? Nothing.
Melody.
It is very weird, right? So that's Brentford. How do you guys like Brentford? I mean, I was really impressed by Brentford, especially Mbuemo. I mean, he was on fire.
Before I go to Brentford, I think the point to mention about Arsenal is that Arsenal have good players. There's no doubt about it. If you bring Lacazette and Aubameyang back into the team, they're world-class players, and they will, add positivity to the team. What I feel Arsenal lacks is character. Like when you see when Bruno came to Man United, he changed the team like this because he got character. He got an attitude. He got that attitude. He got that steel into the team, which Arsenal completely lack. So that is the reason I think Arsenal are
I've been
in this position at
lacking
this
for
moment.
quite a long time. I mean, it's not just like it's been lacking of the in the last few
Yeah,
matches. It's been
it's
for a long
true.
time.
It's
Yeah.
true, but somehow Arsenal have been, managing Champions League spots, coming sixth, seventh. Uh, I don't think the team has a lot of ambition at this moment. They're happy coming fourth, fifth, sixth. So that is also one of the reasons. I mean, if you see at Man
They are
United,
coming eight. They are coming eight for the last two seasons.
yeah, exactly. Because even if you see Man United, who have not won a title for a decade now, we do have a little bit of ambition. And that is why we have spent a lot of money, even. But I think that's lacking in Arsenal, and you know,
Well, that
only
speaks volumes
only time will see.
by the transfer window activity as well. I mean, at the time of recording, I agree. Fabrizio has confirmed that Odegaard has been signed, but we have been especially slow. I mean, considering we don't have any Europe and
Odegaard was there last year. What did Arsenal do? I mean, it's a
yeah,
good
it
addition,
was.
obviously. It's an
I
obviously
think
good addition, but
considering the options that we are going forward with, I think Odegaard is the best out of them. He had a very good pass conversion rate as well. He's second to De Bruyne in the league, I think, last year.
Is he actually replacing? Is he actually replacing Ozil?
Nobody is replacing Ozil. I mean, Ozil was part of the last regime, and Arteta really never played along with him. The only time he won something, Ozil was there in the team. Uh, I think the bigger question is, as a fan, it's been almost 2 years considering he took over in the middle of a season and we got a full season and again pre-season. We as a fan still don't know what is the style of Arsenal. So it's very hard to say that this player is replacing particularly this player. I think the manager himself is confused about what is his best 11 or what is his exact formation or play style that he wants to go with, which is why we as a fans are very confused. We don't know Arsenal has any particular style. If it is was to be a league where who can hold the possession the highest, I think Arsenal would be coming second every season after Man City. But we have no clue with what to do after we have the possession. We are just passing around amongst ourselves and with no finished product. As Ronja said, we don't have that. Uh, I know that spark, that killer instinct. So
okay,
yeah,
Shomnath, I understand this is close to your heart, but this is turning out to be an Arsenal pod, which is not. Let's
yeah.
go back to the agenda and
Look
go
at
ahead
this
with the
way.
rest of the points.
Yeah. So
Because
after
if
that, obviously the highlight of the game week, definitely needless to say, was Bruno Fernandes and Paul Pogba. They were absolutely on fire. Bruno Fernandes scored a hat trick. Paul Pogba gave 4 assists. This is the third instance that has happened for Manchester United ever. A player scoring a hat trick and somebody scoring 3 or more assists. But in saying that, we have to keep in mind that what the XG that Man United had and the expected assists that Man United had was massively overperformed. In saying that, it can be variance, it can be the player quality in that sense, but I think the assist that was given by Bruno Fernandes jumped. I think it was a article in Athletic written by Dan Sheldon. He says that Ralph Hasenhüttl actually is happy with his squad after the players that have left because he feels that this particular squad, whoever the players are there, they are hungry to actually play for Southampton. Now, in saying that, if I talk about Southampton, I think probably their centre back pairing is one of the worst in the league. At least what they played against Everton, right? So, I mean, I'm speaking about Southampton purely because United is the having the next fixture against Southampton, right? So, I think they played Jack Stephens and Salisu, and Salisu was like absolutely horrendous, and even Jack Stephens, I think they need Bednarek back. I do see Kyle Walker Peters coming into the team for probably the next one. Adam Armstrong, how do you feel about Adam Armstrong, guys? I feel he is a good striker.
Yeah.
He's a good striker. He's off to a good start as well. But the Premier League is a different league altogether. I mean, it's much tougher than the Championship, of course. So
Yeah,
it's time. Only time will tell how successful he can be in the league.
true. So I think he will be scoring some goals, but there's generally something lacking because what Danny Ings provides, I think that cannot be covered just by Adam Armstrong, and they especially did not actually invest that things. There are rumors about James Ward-Prowse also being targeted by some other clubs. I don't think he will be sold by Southampton in that sense, but then again, I pretty much should be a good fixture for United coming forward. Moving on, Chelsea have absolutely dominant. I mean, like they just lay down the marker that they are the title contenders. Absolutely no
My
question.
favorites for the title.
Yeah, and mind that Romelu Lukaku has to be added on to that particular squad. I mean, they were just like brilliant. I mean, they did not let much chances. They had an XGC of I think zero point 0.4, and so they were dominant all around. I mean, they did not look at any point that they were disturbed by Palace in any way. I think that is also due to the fact that Palace themselves are a growing squad and they are not fully established under Vieira as of now. He himself stated after the post-match conference that he feels that they still need new players in the window. Probably they will be signing. So yeah, Chelsea definite serious contenders, right? And they have absolutely dominated
Very
and
serious.
yeah, absolutely. A certain Marcus Alonso also scored from a free kick. So Mr. Anjan is very happy. He is already grinning from year to year. Moving on, the match was again Everton versus Southampton in that sense. I think we have already spoken about Southampton in that sense. Everton, this is, mind you, this is Rafa Benitez's Everton. The atmosphere in general could have been very hostile considering it was the played in Merseyside and Rafa having managed Liverpool in the past, it would have could have turned into something. But we got to see a new kind of Everton under Rafa Benitez in the sense that there were 17 crosses in the match that happened, and Everton last year, as an average, had on an average a match they used to be doing 12 crosses in a match. So it seems like that is something that Rafa probably has been working on in the summer, bringing them. I mean, all the players, be it Demarai Gray, be it Townsend, be it Digne, be it Richarlison, everybody was just crossing into the box. They were like, you have the ball, just cross into the box, which I feel in turn, if somebody is thinking about DCL, is an excellent option because with that number of crosses, I mean, some are bound to go in. I mean, as that happened in the weekend eventually, right? So I think going forward, DCL would be, and I mean, especially DCL himself looks really pumped and excited. I mean, especially after, if you have heard his post-match thing, that it seen the crowd, he felt like it was his debut again, and he said that this particular goal matters more than any other goal. I think they will be doing well. One thing to keep in mind regarding Everton, I mean, I understand Richarlison performed really well, and he was ever present kind of. But something to keep in mind, he has had one of the longest preseason in the sense that he was part of the Copa America team, in the Copa America for Brazil team, and as well as he played for Olympics. So if anybody wants to punt on the Richarlison, I think this is the time before he eventually gets tired, because that's how his trajectory moves. I mean, he will get tired. So if you have to take a punt, I mean, definitely you can go ahead with that, right? Moving on, I think the next match was Leicester against. Oh, I think we lost Ronita, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's shown.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, probably. Let's see. He'll join us back. The next match was Leicester against. I think the match was against Wolves. Uh, Generally, I was not that impressed with Leicester, to be very honest. I mean, although they won, they had. I think Wolves had more shots than Leicester in that particular match, and Leicester, the kind of style that they play, wherein they are playing away from the back. I mean, they are trying to build from the back. I don't think Daniel Amate is a very good option for that, because he cannot do that. So
He won't be playing anymore. I feel.
I don't. I obviously I don't see him continuing, even though they get the clean sheet. Obviously, they have bought Vestergaard for that exact same
Yeah.
purpose, and he will be definitely good. I mean, I think the style that they want to play is they want to play with a high block, right? So that they can press the ball and then press the back. I think that was a flaw I felt in the game somehow. And the only time he actually came alive was when they switched to the 3-5-2 formation. He was there, but I think in a 3-5-2 formation, probably Iheanacho, Kelechi Iheanacho would be much more preferred. So I'm not really convinced by Leicester in that sense, but definitely there's something to be seen. They are definitely a work in progress. Moving on to, I think this was one of the best match of the game weeks. It was Watford against Villa. What an atmosphere for Watford, and they just took Villa off guard. I mean, I Sar was sensational, and Dennis. I mean, 5 million for an FPL forward. He was sensational. I mean, they just rampaged, especially the left side of Aston Villa. I mean, Target had to be substituted and really caught off guard. I think they are really somehow, weirdly enough, they are missing a good midfield, because Nakamba is not really just cutting it. Marvelous Nakamba is not good enough, I feel, for this Villa team. So I think Douglas Lewis was absent due to him coming late after Olympics. He should be coming back, and they should be a much more resilient side in that sense. But it does look like they are, they need a time to gel. Bailey, especially, I think, looked really good after coming on. Once he came on as a sub. Buendia, generally, my first impression was he was a bit slow on the ball. He was not passing it really fast. He was not doing the transition very really good. He seemed a bit lost. Danny Ings, as predicted, I mean, he would take time to gel in the team. The penalty was good, but apart from that, he really did not do much. I think they are missing Watkins as well, because Watkins is a very dominant player who can really do that pressing up front very high, because they did not cover, or they did not recover the possession as much as they would have liked in the final third. So Watkins is somebody who is really good at that. I think there will be a stark improvement in performance once he's back into the team. Moving on, well, the one and only. I think at this point we can actually, and he is the king of game week one, Mohamed Salah. He absolutely, and he and Liverpool I think there's not much to talk. Liverpool did exactly what they had to do. Their front four did. Everybody played exactly as they had to do, barring everybody. I mean, barring Mane, everybody else scored as well, some point or the other. And Salah was simply sensational, putting rest to all the doubts that he had a bad preseason and he had a slow preseason, not doing much. This is, I think, the fifth straight season he has scored in game week one. No other player has done that, and they do look like a good set unit. Definitely another one of the title contenders, right? Another impressive
True.
team of the game week, as predicted, was West Ham. Hammers was absolutely sensational, and I would not talk much about Hammers because we have a section on West Ham going forward, which Ronager will be, you know, covering up. But they absolutely dominated stats in every field, and they were just sensational. Final match of the game week was Spurs versus Man City. Match had focus for many different reasons, many weird reasons outside of the field, but eventual result was as has been the case with Pep Guardiola's City. Spurs beat them again. I mean, I feel they are one of the bogey teams for him. He has been beaten by Spurs more than he has been beaten by Real Madrid in his stint as Barcelona manager. Son once again, is one of his favorite opponents. Opponent seems like Man City. He scored again, right? And we will be looking at both Man City and Spurs in depth going forward in the further segment, right? So that's about, I think, the highlights of the game week. Anything I'm missing? Oh, I think I'm missing probably Burnley and Brighton. Uh, Brighton
Not much to talk about there.
there's not much to talk about. Brighton were, as usual, they are poor. I think I will be bold enough to say I think they might be one of the teams that will go down this year. Um, it's
Actually,
time.
actually, I need to speak something. Brighton considered three big chances and four shots inside the box against
Okay,
me and
you're talking
Tarkowski
about
with an like XGC of 1.08
yeah.
to these two players only. So,
Yeah,
like
exactly. I mean,
their
Burnley
defense,
was like how it's predictable. I mean, they did what exactly they do. Their only threat was from set piece. Apart from this, I don't think Burnley had any idea as to what to do what. Brighton eventually won because they have a very smart manager and he made good substitutions. And eventually, I mean, since they are technically much superior than Burnley, they won. I mean, nothing much to speak about in that sense, I feel.
yeah,
That's about it, guys, for highlight of the game week. I mean, it was
we
good
can move.
catching up. Moving on, I mean, let's move on to our next agenda, which is caught my fancy. And I think we will start with you, Anjan.
Yeah,
You are covering Manchester City for us.
yeah. Actually, City, talking about Man City, they didn't play that very well. They were like a slow starter, as usual. They have been doing it for a long period of time. They like always start slowly. And looking to the stats, they had like 18 shot, which was joint third. Shot in the box was 11, which was again joint third. Big chances was 3, which was joint second. XG was 1.8. And like if you go like they are like odds of 2.5 goals. It's like 59% for the next game week. So I feel their players should come in our mind because they are playing Norwich obviously. And like I have done a fair comparison between three players. It's Grealish, Mahrez, and Torres. They had XG of 0.26, 0.32, 0.47. Shot in the box were 3-1-2. Shot on target were 1-0-1. Penalty box touches were 8, 4, and 6. The final third pass, it was 24 for Grealish, 16 for Mahrez, and 8 for Ferran Torres. So I feel Grealish should be more like a assister, more than a uh, scoring
Goal
guy.
scorer.
Yeah. So basically, their stats are not like very good to show right now. But again, they played against Spurs. It was their first game. It was not their first 11 also. I feel their backline, three of their backline would change in the next game week. KDB is fit now. He might not play the entire full match, but he's fit to start it at least. So I feel they would around score around 3 4 goals again. Anything to add, guys?
I think,
No, definitely.
yeah, I think
Go ahead.
basically what Anjan wanted to say is like it's not all doom and gloom as people have been perceiving since City lost to Spurs. It will not be a drastic improvement as well. I mean, this is not something new that we are seeing from City, right? I mean, City started really slow last season as well, and eventually they came up to the point where they were 14th in the league at one point of time, going on to win the league from there and absolutely dominating the last few months of the Premier League. So they generally have been a bit of a slow starter. This is not something paradigm shifting happening that how could City lose. Uh, I think that loss will be turned into a victory against Norwich, and considering the quality of the opponent and the difference between Norwich and Spurs, the improvement might seem really drastic. But I think City will be gradually coming into their groove because they have a lot of.
I think in game week two, Norwich is the main point. Norwich was not very good against Liverpool, even at their home. So this being an away game makes Man City really favorites for the game, and it just might kickstart their season. So hopefully it doesn't, but I think that is what is going to happen. Uh,
Yeah, it does. I mean, I don't know how the score lines will be. The score line might plateau as to how City are performing. It might be looking that City are back to how they are. But I generally feel that there is nothing to worry about there as well, and there is nothing to be overly committed as far as our assets in FPL team goes, because against Norwich the results might be spiked, but City will gradually and generally grow into it. As per as what he was saying regarding Grealish, stats definitely support that he will be somebody who's ever present as per the assist and everything. What was really heartening to see as well was Grealish was getting into the box a lot, which tells me that he will be in a kind of a role wherein he will be in sort of a goal scoring position and there will be goal involvements, right? Anyways, I think that's all about City. If anybody else has to add anything or not.
no, I think one of the players to look out for is definitely Kevin De Bruyne. His ownership right now is very low, and anyone
Yeah.
who has him will definitely
I
stand a
think that,
good
that
chance.
will definitely spike once it is assured that he'll be
Yeah,
starting.
I mean they don't have him for Norwich game. I don't have him, and that is in he is definitely one of the players I hope doesn't score too many points in this game.
Let's see if he starts or not.
I think he'll start.
Anyways, moving on, I think you would be covering West Ham for us extensively.
Yeah, West Ham really caught my eye. I had been fancying West Ham even before the game week started. They had good round of fixtures, and
Absolutely.
uh, and I was very surprised that they started very slowly against Newcastle, but then they came back, uh, scored the goals, won the game, and I think they thoroughly deserved it. In terms of the usual involvements, Antonio and Benrahma were already there, but even Fornals played very good. I think most of West Ham's attack came through the left side as well as the mid side, and even Fornals, who was on the right, was cutting inside towards the central. So I think all these players will again score good points in this game. Leicester West Ham should be a cracking game. Definitely one of the games to see in this game week. I think West Ham even had the highest XG in this game week, around
Yeah, they
more
were.
than
They were.
3.5.
Yeah, yeah. It
Yes,
was like
and
more than three.
more than it's around 3.78, and
Yeah,
the
it's
expected assist was also around 2.6. So West Ham were the attacking players in for West Ham were totally in form. totally doing the business on that day. Creswell and Kufal are always good. Creswell even scored a goal, and Kufal, even though he did not have anything to show for, but he had a lot of crosses from his usual position. So I again fancy West Ham. I do not know who's going to win the game because Leicester are equally a strong candidate. But with West Ham's good fixtures run coming up, I really do fancy them. So that is the reason I have chosen West Ham as my team to fancy for this game
Cresswell
week.
is class. Might I just add? I mean,
Sure.
Aaron Cresswell is absolutely class. And
Somewhere after the game week, I was thinking should I have chosen Creswell over Digne, but again hindsight, 6 points or how what 6 points lost there. But I never really considered him, so I can't really say that. So which team
Okay.
are you covering, Shomnath? I think it's
I would be
Spurs.
covering Tottenham. But before that,
Okay, the
regarding West
favorite team.
Ham, before that, I would like to add regarding West Ham, what you said, absolutely true. The fact that they conceded two goals, I feel a bit of that is down to probably Suchek. He was not as apt at doing his defensive stuff.
Influential.
He was
Yeah.
probably more towards the attacking mode, which is why probably there was a variance. I don't see them continuing their back four as well. I mean, I think they will be eventually, based on their opponents, they will be moving forward. And definitely, I agree with you. They have nice fixtures. And as I said, preseason as well. I mean, they will be going for it because this is their first season in Europe and it's a hard thing to manage. So from the get go, they will like to get as many points on the board as possible once before the European campaign starts. Moving on, I mean, Spurs really caught my fancy for two reasons. One is there's a lot of talk in the community after the Sun goal whether to go switch for Sun or not. I mean, because whether Harry Kane stays in the club and plays as a forward or he does not, either way, Sun is a very good asset to own in FPL. If he is probably, if not the best finisher, he's one of the best finishers in the league by far. There's no doubt about that. Moving on as well, I mean, Spurs have really good fixtures. They have Wolves away, then Watford home, then Crystal Palace away, followed obviously by Chelsea home, which is a difficult fixture. Arsenal away, I don't feel it's actually that difficult a fixture. As of now, at least I feel that. So they have a good run of fixture coming up, followed by Aston Villa home. Many people are considering Spurs, so I wanted to take a closer look at them. Stats wise, they had an expected goal of 0.81 in this particular game week, expected assist of 0.63. They just created one big chance. I think that was the one that Bogbine did not was not able to convert. They had 13 shots, of which on target were two, and most of the shots were from outside the box. Uh, there were five shots in the box actually. So what basically this tells me is they had set up. I mean, if you see how they played against City, Spurs had kind of set up exactly like how Chelsea had set up in the Champions League final, wherein they were playing essentially with three wingers up front. None of them are a genuine striker; they are all wingers. But he was playing all. I mean, Nuno was playing all the three attackers centrally, and he had narrowed down the center part of the wing field, wherein it became like Man City had to cross a lot and stuff were not happening. And eventually, I mean, I think what you missed out on pointing out regarding City was Benjamin Mendy was really bad. He was
Yeah,
not doing anything at all. Defensively,
defensively at least.
defensively, he was not doing anything. He was not properly attacking as well because that was also left to Raheem Sterling. Cancelo was much better. It was a different system because what we have seen from City in the past is City have a forward, I mean, one wing back that bombs forward and one wing back that kind of stays in the midfield area, like Kyle Walker. Uh, None of them were actually doing that. So eventually they cancelled out each other. Both, I think, Spurs had set a team entirely to counter attack. I even looked at stats closely for the front three, that is Son, Lucas Moura, and Bergwijn. Son had an expected goal of 0.21, Lucas Moura of 0.09, which is, I mean, nothing. Bergwijn actually had the highest expected goal, which is 0.46. Their non-penalty XG plus assist was 0.32 for Sun. Moura had zero point 0.3, Bergwijn had 0.62. I mean, shots were 5-3-3. Shot on target, Sun did not have any, I mean, shot on target barring the one that he scored on. Obviously, this is wrong. But what I want to say is, especially like many people had this. I think even Ronoja, you in your game week one preseason team, you had the option of Delhi Ali, right? And there was a new Delhi Ali that we got to see in this particular match.
We were
Might be,
expecting that.
might be it is due to match the opponent, but this
As the
was a
opponent.
Delhi Ali who was completely defensive. He had not one single offensive stat to his name. No
Or,
crosses,
or he was playing for a manager who actually believes in him.
probably, but this has, I mean, considering he did not even have a shot, this has happened the second time in his career for Spurs ever. So it's very weird. I mean, he was in a defensive role wherein he was flanking on one side of Skip and Hoiberg was on the other side, and he was absolutely like defensive like anything. Uh, might be that is something that might change going forward as based on opponent. That is something that has to be seen. But right as of now, Dele Ali doesn't seem an FPL option at all. Sun
I think
definitely.
teams, I think teams do play differently against City.
Yeah, but
Spurs,
that is something that we might have to see because I mean it's a very small sample data right now to be predicting anything from the small stat. We will have a much clearer idea once three four.
the reason the reason why I'm saying this is because Nuno likes to play attacking football, and I'm expecting nothing different from him when he joins Spurs. So I do expect Spurs to play attacking football, which is their strength, and Dele Alli is truly a gifted player. I truly believe that since it was City, they had that system which
They might
they
have to
played.
change the system. I mean, if Kane stays back and he plays up top, and if he eventually is playing a 4-2-3-1, we might see Dele Alli again in the hole in the number 10 position and Sun flanking in the wing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that might happen. So as I said, I mean, it's a very really small sample to go by. I'm just stating what I saw from the particular match. And going forward, Spurs defensively, they did not convince me as much because, as obviously was pointed out by Anjani from the stat that City had, it's just that they could not convert. They had a really high FGC of 1.79. Uh, their expected clean sheet was 0.15. I mean, so it's a surprise, it's a miracle actually that they kept a clean sheet. But in saying that, Romero did not start the match and he came on later on. He looks to be a good defender, and it's
Skip
hard
had
to
a very
say.
good match actually. Skip.
Skip was sensational, man. I mean, it's really a surprise that this guy we never saw under Mourinho, but he was exceptional. Uh,
He had a very good match.
he had a very good match. Uh, person who did not actually have a very good match, who I felt was Tanganga, and he was basically kicking the shit out of Sterling, Grealish, everybody. I don't know why he wasn't
And
targeted for that.
that was his job for the day. I think he did pretty well.
Yeah, but I mean, I was listening to the FML FPL guys, and I they were stating that had Tanganga got a card in the first 10-15 minutes, I think the complexion of the match would have been much different because the way he was
Yeah.
playing. Uh, so I don't know. I do agree to that. I mean, had the card been there for him earlier, probably the match would have been a bit different. But anyways, moving on. That's not something in our hands. As I was saying, centre back pairing as of now it looks like it would be Eric Dyer, but it's hard to say who will be exactly pairing up. I think Regulion is the only assured defender, and Loris is obviously assured being the captain of the team. These are the two players who are assured as of right now in defense. If anybody is thinking of investing in the defense as well, Regulion I think is a good option. Uh, he is good going forward, and I think we might have a mention of him later in the pod as well. But anyways, So that's about Spurs. I do think they're a good option, but considering it was City, everything was a bit spiked. So let's see how they settle into the next match, right? And it's also against Nuno's old team. One thing to keep in mind about Spurs, though, for anybody thinking about investing, they have a midweek match. The I think the Europa Conference
Europa
League.
Conference League
in Portugal.
Yeah,
in Portugal.
they have to travel to Portugal, and then they have a match on Sunday, and then again the next midweek they have the second leg of the match. So
Second leg.
there might
That
be
should be a home match.
yeah, so there might be a fatigue factor. Harry Kane
Rotation
obviously
would be
has
there. No, Hurricane isn't traveling actually.
that's what I was about to mention that Harry Kane hasn't traveled with the squad.
Hmm.
I don't think they have that extensive a squad to rotate that much. So there are certain players that will be there. So just be wary about that factor. About I mean, if you're thinking about bringing your
I
Spurs
don't
players,
think they'll rotate. I don't
yeah,
think that they'll rotate. They will want to keep their form up after
yeah,
winning against City. They wouldn't want to go and win lose against Wolves.
yeah. So
And midweek matches are pretty common these days. Traveling to Portugal and coming back and playing another game week is just another day in a footballer's life. I do not think that will matter much, at least in this day
uh,
and age. After spending so much of rest,
yeah, this is
last
true.
month.
But I mean, what I was suggesting is like just be cautious about that. If somebody is bringing, I mean, ideally, if I'm bringing a Spurs asset, I would like to wait till that match because although this Spurs team has
There
probably done
might
well,
be an okay, just like wait for the match. There might be an injury also. You never know.
that's what I was suggesting. And plus, this European thing is something that is new for Nuno, how he manages that. So that will be something interesting to see, just something to keep in mind, right? Anyways, moving on, I think we have covered extensively Spurs, Man City, and West Ham for anybody that is looking to invest into them, right? Uh, Looking ahead, I mean, well, it's game week 2, and that, as they say, it's the hope that keeps everybody alive. I mean, especially it is the hope that is keeping me alive. That will be a good game week for me. So let's get into game week 2, guys. Let's bring up the picture. I think it's there already on the screen.
Yeah,
So
it's there.
first match right up front is a big match. It's Liverpool versus Burnley, right? So Anjan, how do you see this match going forward?
I feel it would be a 3-0 score for Liverpool. Same kind of score.
Yeah, I
And
completely. Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
no, no, and I feel like Mane would score in this match, or like he would have a goal involvement in this match. I feel it's my feeling.
I completely agree to you. I don't have anything much to add to this. I also see this as a scoreline of 3-0 to Liverpool against Burnley. That has been the traditional score of them against Burnley for the past few seasons. I don't see anything changing. I don't see especially Burnley scoring as well in this
We
particular
have
match.
lost. I guess we have lost Ramadan. Hold on a second.
You've lost Manuja.
I,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess we have lost it.
Anyways,
Uh,
let's continue on. Probably he can
okay,
again,
fine.
right?
Yeah, probably you can tell us.
That's about it. Liverpool Burnley. I do again feel that there will be some sort of involvement in the goals for Salah, right? The obvious question this week for everybody is whether to go for Captain Salah or Captain Bruno. Uh, the only differentiating factor in this would be that Liverpool are playing at home, if that is a factor, because XGC wise, I mean Burnley and Southampton are pretty much the same, right? So
Pretty much similar.
it could be a coin toss. Both of them take penalties. There's nothing to divide in that. It's just that it's Liverpool's first match this season at home, and Anfield will be absolutely buzzing. It's one of the
Mm,
noisiest stadium in England, right? And the crowd really
mm.
gets behind the team. So I see Liverpool winning this comfortably. Moving on, the next fixture is Aston Villa against Newcastle. So I will take this first. I think
Yeah, take
there
it.
will be improvement for Villa against Newcastle, right? I would go with the score line of 2 goals to 1 in favor of Villa. I don't see Villa keeping a clean sheet, to be honest, which is why I'm worried about a certain player in my team. Newcastle attack wise is really good, and especially I think Willock will be added onto that
Yeah.
attack, so they really will be good. Uh, Lewis coming back into the midfield for Aston Villa would be a huge boost for them. So I see them shoring up their act a bit more, right? Uh, I do see if Watkins starts, I do see that he be involved in this match particularly. I mean, from a goal scoring or an assisting point of view. What do you feel,
Yeah.
Anjan?
I feel it will be a similar kind of score line. What you suggested, Anton. I feel Aston Villa winning it to be a 2-1, or it might turn out to be a draw, 2-2 kind of draw, or like 1-1 kind of draw.
Absolutely plausible. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
Anyways,
Moving on, the next match is Crystal Palace against Brentford. I do think that this is actually a very tricky match to call, to be honest. Initially, my reaction was Brentford would win this, but I can just as easily see Palace winning this. Uh, I can see both of them scoring, to be very honest. I don't think any of them will be keeping a clean sheet because although Brentford kept a clean sheet against Arsenal, they did concede the highest number of shots. I think Palace would be starting with Benteke and not going ahead. I mean, how after the substitution they kind of look better. So Benteke will be starting. I do see Benteke being involved in goal scoring. There will be a goal involvement for him, I feel. The score line for Palace, I would tip them to win 2-1. 2-1 seems my favorite score line. I predict that a lot. So sorry, guys. Anybody who feels that is repetitive, that does happen. And then what do you feel? How do you see this match going forward? Crystal Palace versus Brentford?
I feel like it would be a 1-1 score line, a draw,
You see a draw?
because there was no, yeah. I feel it will be a draw, 1-1 draw.
Why? Because there was no draw in game week 1?
Mm, Not because of that, but I feel both of them are kind of similar kind of a team.
Okay. Moving on, Ronja, we are covering the fixture. We are right now at Leeds and Everton. What is your prediction for that particular match?
I think it's going to be goal scoring. I fancy DCL to score 2-2 for me.
2-2 draw.
From 2-2 draw from Leeds, I expect Rafinha to finally get on the points, at least an assist or a goal. A 2-2 or Leeds win, but I would say 2-2.
How do you feel generally
Lots
Leeds?
of draw flying
I
around.
mean, if you can cover that quickly for us. How do you
Sorry, I
think?
couldn't get your question.
I said, how do you think Leeds played last match? I mean, if you can cover that quickly for us.
They Leeds played the way we expect Leeds to play. They were attacking. You could see that Rafinha tried a lot of things which did not turn up on that day. United have a good defense. They have a good team at this moment. And if Pogba and Bruno would have not been there, we do not know what the scoreline would have been. United just had the extra quality in that game, and that is why they managed to beat Leeds convincingly. I will not say that Leeds were poor or something. They did not. Maybe it was the first game of the season, and that is why they could not, give it their 100%. But if you remember, even last season, the first game of the season, Leeds had conceded four against Liverpool. They had also scored three, but they had conceded four. So Leeds are just being Leeds, and I do expect good things from Leeds going forward. Being a Man United fan, I should not say this, but I actually like Leeds, the way they play under Bielsa. So
Good to know. Good to know. Anjan, your scoreline for Leeds Leverton.
I'd say Leeds 2-1.
I also generally see this match as a goal scoring match. I would probably also go with a 2-1 scoreline for Leeds. I can see it being 3-1 as well for Leeds, right?
Okay.
Moving on, it's the big match for the game week: Man City versus Norwich. I will go first. I cannot see Norwich scoring if Man City play their first defense. I would go with a scoreline of 4-0 for Man City in this particular match. How about you, Ronjan?
Four.
I think 3-0 with De Bruyne and Sterling definitely on the score sheet. And I'm also expecting one goal from one of the defense. So let's see how it goes. 3-0 for me.
Ruben,
I think
I
Ruben Diaz or one of the wing backs.
let's see. Anjan?
I feel it would be a comfortable win for City. 4-0.
Yes.
Might be 5-0 also.
Okay. That's a huge scoreline, 5-0.
Yeah.
We'll have a feast day if that happens. Moving on, it's Brighton versus Watford, two of the teams I'm very excited about. How do you see this match going, Anjan?
I feel like it would be a very cagey kind of match. And I feel Brighton should probably win this match by a 1-0, or it might turn out to be a draw 1-1 also. What are
Ronjan?
your thoughts about this match?
Again, I think it's going to be a KG match. I really like Brighton the way they play. The defense is slightly weak at the moment, so there could be goals in it for Watford. Uh, I would probably say 1-1 kind of a game, KG, but there would definitely be goals. Uh, Sar to be on the score sheet. I also have him, so I'm definitely hoping for him to be on the score sheet.
Absolutely. I don't especially see it as a crazy match. I was genuinely impressed by Watford's attack. I see it to be a game of attack from both ends. I can see it being a scoring draw. I would go up to say might be a bit improbable. I think it will be a 2-2 kind of a draw. This particular match.
I,
I do see goals in it,
I was
and I
thinking
was
you were
really
going for 3-3, but I think 2-2 is more probable.
yeah. I think Dennis really looked good. I think he should be involved.
I hear
And
Dennis is in, could be doubtful for this game.
okay,
So let's see how it pans out.
how it pans out. Okay, definitely. If that happens, if he doesn't play, I think it will be impacting. In that case, probably Brighton to win the match. Moving on, we have the match that I'm most worried about from a personal FPL point of view. It's Southampton versus Man United. I would ask the United fan first. How would you think this match will go?
I think United should win this quite easily. I hope United don't concede because that has been one of our problems even in the past that we concede one silly goal, a couple of silly goals, and then we have to do the comebacks. I really don't want to trouble my heart and just want to relax for sitting on my sofa and see the game. I expect United
Varane,
to win four. Varane did not start the midweek game against Burnley. They played a friendly against Burnley behind the
Smoke for
stadiums.
yeah.
Yeah, so he did not start that game. So I'm again not expecting Varane to start this. The reason I'm very fearful about Southampton in this game because Southampton likes to play a high press kind of a game, and with Pogba in form, he definitely has the vision to find players, both Bruno and Greenwood. So that is the reason I'm expecting good things from United in this game. Probably 4-0, 5-0
You
kind
see
of a
another 9-0
scoreline.
happening?
Sorry?
You see another 9-0 happening?
No. 9 nils are too improbable. They happen once in a lifetime, once in a decade.
Anjan?
I feel United would probably win very comfortably in this match. They should keep a clean sheet also. I would go for a 3-0.
Uh, I
I just hope JWP does not again score against United. He has this bad habit of scoring against United all the time. We somehow concede a free kick just outside the penalty box, and he always seems to score against us. I just hope that doesn't happen this time.
even I do. I won't show. Uh, I'm particularly worried about this match. I don't know how to call it. I do see United winning this comfortably. I think it would be 3-1 kind of a match. The one I think is because Southampton will be playing at St Mary's, and I think the crowd will have a part to play. I probably think United might concede this match. Moving on, it's Wolves against Wolves' old bosses team, Nuno's team Spurs. How do you see this one panning out, Anjan?
I feel like Spurs would win by 1-0, probably.
Okay, Ronja.
If Kane does not play, I think I'll go for a 1-1 draw. But if Kane does play a good amount of 60 minutes, I think Spurs have it in them to nick this game. So if Kane plays, 2-1 to Spurs. If Kane doesn't, 1-1 draw.
Okay. I do see Spurs conceding this match. I would be going with the 2-1 scoreline for Spurs in favor of Spurs. That is. Moving on, it's Arsenal versus Chelsea.
You should
I
start that.
Yeah, I will take it. If Aubameyang and Lacazette don't play, I don't see Arsenal scoring. But we have this weird knack of having a very random match against big teams.
Exactly.
That is generally usually in the second half of the season. I don't see that happening this time around. I do actually see. I'm actually scared about this match. I think Chelsea will be winning this match by a margin of 3 goals to nil.
See,
I will go
Arsenal
for a one.
finishing.
I will go for a 1-0 Arsenal win. I actually fancy Arsenal to just nick this game somehow. Just hold on to their dear lives and nick this
Love
game
it.
1-0.
If that happens, I mean, seriously. Let's ask the Chelsea fan how confident he is.
Oh, he should be very
Uh,
confident.
yeah, very much confident. I feel it would be a 2-0 kind of match.
I also
To
agree.
whom? To Arsenal, I guess.
No, 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 never.
I see if Rom starts, I see him being involved in goals. If he is,
Yeah.
I mean, in any part, if he's playing 30 minutes and above, I do see him getting involved in the goal scoring
Especially
part.
with Arsenal's backline being not very physical,
Um,
Rom does have a very good chance to start scoring for Chelsea again.
it's very worrisome unless Gabriel comes back. Uh, Moving on, it's the last match of the game week. It's West Ham versus Leicester. How do you see this one, Ronoja?
I think I
I
already covered this previously. I see 2-2
Scoreline for
score,
you?
games galore in this game. Goals galore in this game. I think 2-2 or even 3-3. I love to see a high scoring game.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I expect Antonio to be involved. I also expect Kufal to be involved in this game as a either with an assist or even a goal. Most probably an assist.
Got it. I think I will take it. Me specifically, I was not that convinced with Leicester. I do see West Ham winning this particular match. I would go ahead with a scoreline of 3 goals to 1. I don't generally see West Ham keeping a clean sheet, but I do see them winning this particular match. I don't know if we
Fair
have
enough.
lost Anjan or not. I
Yeah, I think there's some network issue at our end this evening. We seem to be losing each other. Hopefully, in our future pods, this won't be an issue and we can get it resolved.
Yeah,
But we got to do what we have.
moving on to our next section, which is basically covering our team, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's showing on the screen or not right now.
I am not changing my team, so doesn't matter.
Yeah, can you just say what is the team for you guys? I mean, for you this game week. I mean, read it out for people who are listening on the pod.
Sure, sure. So I'll probably start with Sanchez as my goalkeeper. I only have one, so no probably. I'm sure. My back three is going to be Shaw, Arnold, and Simikas. I see that Robertson has started training again, and Simikas could be gone in a couple of game weeks. My midfield is Greenwood, Fernandes, and Salah. My centre backs are Matic, Fabinho, and Bruno. and this spot which I'm confused about it is Eiling, Genie, and Sar. I do, like I said, I do see goals in the Everton versus Leeds game, and probably for that reason, I'm not going for Eiling and Genie at this moment. Currently have Sar. Um, One of the biggest reasons I have Sar is he's on penalties, and Brighton have this habit of giving away silly penalties sometimes. So Sar at this moment in my team, let's see if I finally go with Sar or not. In terms of captaincy, I have chosen Bruno this week because of the reasons like I told. I do
That's
see
an
that
interesting
Southampton.
step.
I do see that Southampton will play a high line, and I think Bruno's going to do well this game week.
I think
Better
there's
than
not
Salah.
much in it. Yeah, I don't think there's much in it. As we were covering, and once you had got disconnected, I think
Hmm.
there isn't much in it. We have lost Anjan. Anyways, I do have his team. I will read out his team. He's playing a 3-5-2 formation with his goalkeeper being Sanchez. He has Trent, Shaw, and Simicas in defense. In midfield, he has Benrahma, Fernandes, Salah, Barnes, and Kai Havertz. Up front, he has Wilson and Antonio. What he had told me, as he's communicating with me, that Kai is dropping in price tonight, and probably he's looking to move on Kai either for Greenwood or Grealish, which is not yet decided. Right. Moving on to my team, let's get into that. I am also playing a 3-5-2 formation. My goalkeeper is Sanchez. My defense is Shaw, Trent, and Matt Target. In midfield, I have Benrahma, Mahrez, Harvey Barnes, Sadio Mane, and Mo Salah. Up front, I have Ivan Tony and Antonio. Now I have a lot of doubts. I mean, I am really torn, and I would, Ramaji, actually, I love your opinion on it. Uh, do you? I mean, I don't feel that it's wise to go without a United asset in this particular game week. But then again, I'm looking at Mane, probably, which was my initial plan to switch him to Bruno. Mane does have a home match against Burnley, and he has a knack of scoring against Burnley. Genuinely, I'm not impressed by Harvey Barnes. So he is someone I'm looking to move on, and probably I would like to go for Greenwood, but I don't have the funds for that. To upgrade that, I will have to downgrade Target to somebody, and that will be for a minus point 0.4 here, minus 4 hit. So do you think that is like something that I should go for, because I'm like really torn in that sense?
I don't think so because you would have taken Barnes for a particular reason. He did pretty well before the start of the game, first game week. So I think it should be fair to give him one more chance. And Barnes is
But
playing
no
against.
United asset, though.
Sorry.
Barring Shaw, no United asset in my team.
Yeah, I know, but Barnes is not a bad option, and Barnes will particularly be playing against a team who do concede, and you can bet that Barnes does have some role to play in that. Even if you transfer Barnes to Greenwood at this moment, you have to take a hit of -4, like you said, and for that you need Greenwood to score maybe a couple of goals to make up for
Plus,
that point.
I don't see any. I mean, if I'm downgrading Target to a 4.5 defender, I at this point at least I don't see any standout 4.5 million defender that has stood out for me that I can actually obviously opt for.
I think Ben White is definitely one in my
Oh,
one considering.
he's already on my bench, so I already do have Ben White in my team.
Oh, okay,
So he's
okay.
not somebody I can go for. So it has to be
So I think
somebody else.
it's better to wait for this game week, play with your team, and take a call next game. I think that at least I would do that. It's a chance again, but not having Bruno Fernandes is the bigger risk. So if you're not bringing him in, I don't think we should consider other transfers.
Do you think I should bring him in even if I'm not captaining him? I don't see that it being.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so because the reason being, we should. I always believe that if a player is playing at home, and since you've gone with Mane, who's at home to Burnley, you should definitely stick with him at least for 2 to 3 game weeks. I think you should give Mane a chance against Burnley, who do like to concede against the big teams. And let's see how it goes for you.
Let's see. A lot of pondering before the deadline on Saturday. Otherwise, I would really need a big couch for that United game to hide behind. Anyways, that's it from us, guys. Uh, for this game week, I hope you guys have been helped by whatever little we have to offer. If you liked our content, please do like and subscribe. It means a lot to us. I mean, you liking our video gets us highlighted on YouTube, and other people can actually also see our pod. We're just starting out, and I can assure you there wouldn't be so much technical fall as we have faced now. Going forward, we are that definitely that's something that we are working on, right? Uh, People who have scored centuries, well done, guys. Amazing start. Build on it. People who have not, don't get disheartened. I have also got a century score. Let's hope our arrows are clean. Anything else to add on there? Otherwise, we'll wrap up.
Yeah, we have backbenches for a reason. I think backbenches always have to improve, and this technical issue is definitely one of them.
I'm living
And
optimistic.
yeah, and as we do more episodes, I'm sure we're going to give you more meaningful stats, cover more meaningful items, and also hopefully what we say, like Shobnath said, makes sense, and it helps you in the game week, and it helps us in the game week. And yeah, meet you next week with hopefully one more century.
Absolutely. Goodbye, guys. Have a nice day.
Goodbye, guys.